It is an honor and privilege for me to conduct the session number 6. So we will have the first participant, Professor Asma, Assistant Professor of English, Muhammad Sadar College. She is going to present a paper on social platform network. Asma, madam, start.
Good evening to one and all present here. My topic is social media jeopardy of students' life. So, social media is also as time killers. According to the survey, social media has both advantage and disadvantage. The impact of the medium, which took a massive development in upcoming generations. Students are getting addicted to social media and force themselves to involve in digital world instead of focusing on education. Many apps are being introduced in today's life. Students dedicate their time fully on social media. Social networking sites aren't beneficial for students nowadays. Their intellects are twisted to become evil addicts. They become thieves while they are playing the game called PUBG. The main purpose of social media is in contemporary world they spoil their lifetime. So, social media has become an integral part of daily lives of the present generation. It is also a helpful tool to leverage as an educative tool, especially in the field of education. Media websites are started to grow popularly. It is our premises that social media is playing a vital role in students' lives, particularly in their academic performance. The main finding of the research, social media has positively and continuously impact on students' academic performance and leads to work the generation gap. Social media is not only electronic connection, it is also has become an addiction which is leading to parent-students gap. So, students feel free to share their emotion on social media rather than share it with their elders. Students fall on social media they follow. There are many social networks to choose. Some of the popular ones includes Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. These social media networks has made wide impact on students' life. They become crazier on social media than academic influence. Students become dependent on that and they are fond of using these apps. They are using social media only for their enjoyment. They are devoted to some apps such as Instagram. They are enacting reels and posting it on social media to get likes. While Facebook was on trending, students started to post their photos and they don't care about their privacy and fall in some abusive thing. They are getting stressed for likes in social media. And students' mobile addiction gone through the extreme level. They carry their phone wherever and whenever they go. The level of addiction is high while they only show their involvement. This kind of an attitude which makes them to disrespect their parents and people who is around them to the extent we can tell that students' academic performance is poor due to this social media indulgence. Nearly 9 out of 10 students don't pay attention in class. Most of the students' mindset is to fight free boredom and stay connected to such apps. They involve in YouTube, they start to post video out of their interest and gradually they become professional YouTubers. Most of the students' career is getting distracted and they fall in non-academic wise due to the social media, lesser chance to face conversation. It can be a form of distraction by constantly checking various social media sites while studying that leads them to become asocial due to this tend to make spelling mistakes and grammatical errors. They frequently use even slang words to convey message quicker explorer to health problems such as eye strain and mental stress. The finding of the study revealed that there is a negligible negative correlation between the time they spend on social media and the students' academic performance. The ultimate solution for this problem is to nurture student-centered learning setting and inspire students to become independent learners and to be in charge of their own education. Facilitate communication. Social media can have a huge impact in helping students create relationship with other like students, extending the learning experience beyond the classroom. Encourage students to create course specific virtual study group. Student can use social media in a right way. Social media can serve as a way to increase their education, both about their surrounding, well as topic to interest. Social media can help enhance students. Many offers useful educational videos such as TED, Crash Course, makes them smarter every day. Facebook and Twitter for educational information. For this, there are many groups in social media. Social media is a powerful tool. It should be used properly. The possibilities are endless. Due to social media, they get failures in studies. They are also involved in making videos in TikTok. Even the technological change during online classes, they are not concentrating in studies. Instead, they operate the other apps on social media. TikTok is known in China as Douyin. It hosts a variety of short form of videos in genres like prank, joke, stunt, trick, dance, and entertainment. The main reason why the students are socializing, the fact it gives them freedom. Those who spend more time on social media becomes victim of depression and anxiety because it adversely affects their thought process and mood. Social media that enable people around the globe to interconnect via internet, chat, and share content, video call, among many other functionalities. Before 20 years, social media has not created such impact on students, especially they don't know many things about social media. Later on, when Facebook started to create a massive popularity among them, people started to connect with everyone. On those days, students don't have mobile phone. They only have books. But later it gradually changed. The students who want to know about some information, they only rely on browsing centers. At that time, they introduced to use internet or a medium to that is started to create a change when social media has gained so much growth and fame worldwide. The use of social media has both negative and positive impacts on students' life today. The positive impact of social media on student life is they are using it up to date on the events happening around them. Instead to seek a person, they get all the information on social media. To this conclusion, a student must restrict themselves from using social media while students should learn how to use it in a right way. Social media, it can make them to lead a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You have given a deep insights into the social media. A lot has been spoken about social media. Today's world is like everybody is about social media. So we have got recent, there are positive as well as negative. So we pray and we hope that people they look only to the positive side of the social media and they use it. Okay. So next I got to invite Dr. Mahesh Naik. Dr.
Yes,
Mahesh
sir.
Naik.
I am present, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Assistant
sir.
Professor is great. Okay.
Yes.
So Dr. Mahesh Naik is Assistant Professor of English with the government first grade college, Hiriyur, Karnataka. His title, his paper title is Sangati, Iron Notes of Dalit, Women's Sorrows and Tears. So Dr. Mahesh, you can start presenting.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I thank the organizers for making me a part of this international virtual conference. As the professor just said, the title of my paper is Sangati, Anecdotes of Dalit Women's Sorrows and Tears. Sangati is a novel written by the Dalit writer Bama Susairaj, who is popularly known as Bama. So an anecdote is a short account of a real incident or a person. So this particular novel, Sangati, is an appalling analysis of the lives of Dalit women. In Tamil, Sangati means news, events, or happenings. The text shows how these Dalit women face the double disadvantage of caste and gender discrimination. The book contains many narratives woven together to unfold the social inequities, economic hardships suffered by Dalit women. Women with different age group, several generations of women, and different kinds of experience of life appear in the novel one after the other to exhibit the life of exploitation, oppression, humiliation, injustice, cruelty, trauma, and disparity they undergo. The book provides an insight into the lives of women who have been trapped not only by patriarchy but also by caste hatred. The book also presents many of these women as strong women, I quote, who have the courage to break the shackles of authority to propel themselves upwards, unquote. It has a series of powerful episodes involving memorable characters. Individual episodes, anecdotes, and memories of personal experience are narrated in first person. There is a multiplicity of voices in a voice. Here, instead of a single narrator, many Dalit women speak to the reader. Bama examines the different issues that oppress different women, but at the same time has an admiration for these Dalit women who could cope with the caste and gender discrimination. She explains why men vent all their anger at home, the reason for the street quarrels, the use of the abusive language, and submission to the police and upper caste men. Lack of education and lack of self-awareness make them submissive and exploitive. Bama in this narrative brings out the women oppression in her village. Her chief concern is for the Dalit problems. The central theme in her creations is the existential predicament of the Dalit women. She unfolds before us the social problems which are responsible for the sufferings of Dalits in general and Dalit women in particular. The signs of patriarchy start to be noticed from the birth of girl children itself. Bama very aptly describes this disparity in treatment of boy children and girl children. Boy babies are never let to cry. If a boy baby cries, he is instantly picked up and given milk. It is not so with the girls. A boy is breastfed longer. They wean the girls quickly, making them forget the breast. Quick attention is given to a boy's illness, whereas they do it half-heartedly in the case of a girl. When they become a bit older, the treatment remains the same. Boys will eat as much as they wish and run off to play. As for the girls, they have to stay at home and keep on working all the time, cleaning vessels, drawing water, sweeping the house, gathering firewood, washing clothes, and so on. If they get any chance and time to go to play, they have to carry the little babies with them. Bama gives her parties, party means grandmother, example. She cared for her grandsons much more than she cared for her granddaughters. I quote, "If she brought anything home when she returned from work, it was always the grandsons she called first. If she brought mangoes, we only got the skin, the stones and such. She gave the best pieces of fruit to the boys," unquote. Even pregnant Dalit women are not treated with due care they ought to be. Many Dalit women who are in their full term of pregnancy have to go to the fields for some work or the other. And a few of them even give birth in the fields itself. Bama's party narrates such an incident which had taken in her village. A woman once went to the field to cut the grass, and she was pregnant at that time, nearly full term. She went into labor then and there and delivered the child straight away. She cut off the umbilical cord with the sickle she had taken with her to cut the grass, dug a hole and buried the placenta, and walked home carrying her baby and her bundle of grass. They can't stay at home during such critical period also. If they stay at home, it will be very difficult for them to get food. Even their cows and calves die of hunger. The husbands of these pregnant wives do not think about taking care of them. It does not enter their mind that women in such critical conditions should not be sent outside for work. The party's words echo in the hardships Dalit women undergo every day of their life. She complains, I quote, "We have to labor in the fields as hard as men do, and then on top of that, struggle to bear and raise our children. As ends when they have finished in the fields. If you are born into this world, it is best you were born a man." Unquote.
Thank you.
To pigs, sir?
Yeah, please continue.
Right, sir, thanks. The grandmother once goes to the hospital and sees to her astonishment the pigs which are as white as the European nuns in the hospital. Her remark that these pigs are reared on wheat and milk powder and biscuits presents a contrasting picture of the lives of these Dalits who have to struggle hard for their gruel. Besides having the burden of going to the fields for cutting grass, gathering firewood, the Dalit women have to safeguard themselves from upper caste men who cast their lusty glances on them and try to molest them. Party warns Bama about these shameful acts of the upper caste men. I quote, "Women should never come on their own to these parts. If upper caste fellows clap eyes on you, you are finished. They will drag you off and rape you, that is for sure." Unquote. Dalit men restrict their women from going to cinemas just because of the fear of upper caste men. Wife beating is one of the most common forms of patriarchal oppression of women. Husbands find number of reasons to beat their wives. In Bama's community, women shoulder the responsibility of running the household by going to the fields as laborers, gathering firewood, fetching water, cooking and cleaning, and keeping busy in one or the other kind of work. Besides this, they have to submit themselves to the physical desires of their husbands in spite of their tiredness. Bama's uncle beats his wife because the man was crazy with lust, because he wanted her every single day. How could she agree to his frenzy after she worked all hours of the day and night, inside the house and out? He is an animal, that fellow. When she refused, he practically broke her off. If somebody tries to stop him, he will shout that she is his wife and he can beat her or even kill her if he wants. This attitude of her uncle shows the way husbands consider their wives. For them, wives are not more than objects. So this is one set of women who are submissive and who are they are objects of oppression. But fortunately, all the women are not like Bama's aunt or other such women in the community. There are some women who simply do not tolerate the blows of their husbands. Rakamma's husband, Pakiraj, is a drunkard and picks up a quarrel with his wife regularly. But Rakamma is not a quiet woman. Before he can hit her, she will scream and shriek. She defends herself, raising her big tongue. When he drags her by her hair and pushes her down, kicking her lower belly, Rakamma gets up and wails out aloud. She shouts obscenities. She scoops out the earth and flings it about. I quote, "How dare you kick me, you low life? Your hand will get leprosy. How dare you pull my hair?" Unquote. Her vile and vulgar way of abusing her husband saves her from her husband's blows. So thus, this text is a collection of anecdotes not only about the sorrows and tears of Dalit women, but also their rebellious nature. Thank you, sir. And here I conclude my presentation. Sir, your voice is not clear, sir. Your voice is not clear.
Is it clear? Clear?
Now, sir.
Okay. So you have given a good presentation about
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Andati.
Thank you, sir.
You have given the problems, highlight the problems Dalit women are facing, and also you have given the solution
Exactly, sir.
how to women should empower themselves.
Definitely, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mahesh Naik. Very nice to have you at the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Feeling the same.
So next participant who is going to present the paper is K.K. Das, Assistant Professor. K.K. Das is here. K.K. Das, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Vidyasagar College for Women, Calcutta. K.K. Das, are we here? K.K. Das. Okay. So I think it's now the next. We will go to the next participant. Manpreet Kaul, a research scholar, Lovely Professional University, Jalandhar.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Yeah, you can start your presentation.
Good evening, everyone. The topic of my today's presentation is the teaching of English phonetics in rural colleges. Phonetics, as we all know, is the study of speech sounds. It is described as comprising of two aspects of human speech, production and perception. By production, we mean the ways human beings make sound, and perception is the way speech sounds are understood. Language production is the process where the signal is sent by the speaker. Language perception is the process by which linguistic signal is decoded and understood by the listener. Human languages use many different sounds. Speech sounds are named after the movement of the organs of speech needed to produce them. Phoneticians define speech sounds in two categories, consonants and vowels. Sounds are produced as we breathe out, and this mechanism is referred to as pulmonary egressive airstream mechanism. The place of articulation, the manner of articulation, and voicing is used to describe consonants, whereas vowels are described by the height of the tongue and the place of the tongue where articulation takes place, and also the rounding of the lips. The study of language is the foundation of all learning. Language defines human life. Phonetics, the sounds of a language, are the basics of learning a language, and if the basics are not clear, how can we fare well? There are many languages in India, and all have a different sound system. Language is a medium of communication, and it can also be a barrier to understanding. English as a language came to India with the British as a tool of governance. The British used English to look down upon the Indians, as the Indians could not adapt themselves to the sounds of English. The intellectuals, Indians, took to learning English, and soon the communication gap between the ruler and the ruled was diminished. The British lords like Macaulay, Lord William Bentinck, put great efforts in improving the conditions of English in India, as did the Indians like Raja Ram Mohan Roy. English developed hugely and became a gateway to Western knowledge. This development paved way for mutual cultural interaction between India and Britain and led to the sharing of cultural heritage between the two nations. But even today, Indians face a problem when speaking English, as it is an acquired language. Researchers like Morley, Selse Mercia observe that pronunciation is an essential part of oral communication and communicative competence. Pronunciation very often remains neglected or absent in many language teaching programs. When one learns a language, one needs to study the vocabulary, grammar, reading, writing, and speaking. A key to good speaking is good pronunciation. Proper pronunciation of words leads to proper understanding by the listener. Acquiring good pronunciation skills should be the priority of all students. Good English speaking involves correct pronunciation and usage of proper intonation, which helps in appropriate communication and conversation. The present study focuses on the identification and analysis of mistakes made by the students of rural colleges phonetically and phonologically in learning the speech sounds of English language and therefore committing errors in the process of communication and the solutions to overcome such mistakes. Phonology has a functional relationship with phonetics. Martin defines phonology as a branch of linguistics that studies the structural and functional laws of the sound system. Nevertheless, phonology is different from phonetics. Students of rural colleges face several problems. English is their second language. Learning a second language means acquiring a system of rules. Little is known about these rules and how to acquire them as a teacher and a student. Students find themselves unable to cope with the sound system in the English language. They do not know the sentence structure of the English language. Therefore, they do not acquire proper pronunciation, spellings, and grammatical rules. Language learning is a natural process for the natives. The approach to this learning is called behavioristic approach, but for the students of other languages, deliberate efforts are required to learn a foreign language, which requires a mentalistic approach. The students of rural and semi-urban areas in India face such problems because English is not their mother tongue. Language acquisition seems to be a process of both analogy and application, nature and nurture. Phonetics is usually considered as a more objective reality, which is a more objective concept and are transmitted in the form of auditory sensations. Some of the common phonetic mistakes done by the rural students include the incorrect articulation of sounds, such as insufficient closeness, as in the case of the sounds sir and zer. The sir sound is a voiceless sound, whereas zer sound is a voiced sound. The openness of sound in the sounds o and o. O is a front vowel near half open position and o is a back open vowel. Vowel lengthening, as in case of e and e. E is a short vowel and e is a long vowel. Aspiration. In the pronunciation of English sound f, a labiodental consonant in the word fool, a similar sound in Hindi and Punjabi is p, a bilabial consonant in the word pool, which means flower. Glottal hum, as in English pronunciation of bata, it's a glottal stop, unlike in the Indian pronunciation of butter. An interference of native language which leads to distortion in the pronunciation of a word. The lateral l sound in English is pronounced as retroflex by a Punjabi or Hindi speaker. The sound l is pronounced by rolling the tongue towards the hard palate and then flapping it towards the teeth ridge, as in the Punjabi word kala. Phonetic mistakes show that there are some violations in the pronunciation of sounds, words, and phrases. Among phonetic mistakes, the most productive type of making mistakes is mispronouncing a particular letter. For example, the mispronunciation of sounds occurs in the pronunciation of d, as in day, is pronounced as retroflex in Punjabi and Hindi word sadak. A rural student pronounces d as r. Phonological mistakes include sound substitutions both within one sound system and between systems. Erroneous stress transfer is in a word also refers to phonological mistakes. Thus, phonological mistakes can be sound and accent. In Punjabi language, stress is marked by a punctuation mark as a half moon called an adak, as in kalla, and as a half letter in Hindi words in sacha and pakka. Such a variation is not found in English words. When teaching any foreign language, it is very important to understand the nature of phonetic and phonological mistakes, namely what psychological characteristics precede their appearance. Another phonological mistake is stress transfer. Due to Punjabi accent, the students find it difficult to relate to the stress pattern when a suffix or prefix is added. When teaching English, there are numerous mistakes associated with the location of stress in the word. For example, in the English word economy, the stress falls on the second syllable. There comes a question from the rural students that if economics with a central vowel a, then why is economy with a back vowel o? Why is it not pronounced as economics? Often such cases happen with those who learn several languages, and in this case the influence of one language it is imposed on the study of another language. Sound substitutions are one more form of phonological mistake. The English word pen with a short central vowel e, which means a thing to write with. A native rural college speaker would pronounce it as pain, meaning hurt in English. The a sound is substituted by the sound a. Another example is the pronunciation of pin as an instrument to attach things. A rural student pronounces it as pen, as in English, a thing to write with. The is pronounced as the, not as the. The article a is pronounced as a, and un is pronounced as an. Some more problems faced during the teaching of English phonetics are that the students find it difficult to express their ideas in English. Teachers find it difficult to understand the student due to pronunciation and accent, and sometimes the word spoken is different from the word understood. Students are unable to learn proper pronunciation, spelling, and grammatical rules. Students never realize the importance of learning phonetics of a language. Students lack the confidence to speak English as they find it difficult to speak the sounds of English correctly. A major reason is that English is taught through grammar translation method. This method makes them dependent on their mother tongue. To solve all these problems, a systematic approach needs to be followed. The teachers should aim at teaching primarily not knowledge but skill. The different skills required are good listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Teachers should find some ways of helping pupils to enjoy their language activities and of building their confidence. As children learn by way of imitation, similarly, students tend to follow the example set by their teacher. The English teacher should have a wide range of ideas and imaginations. He or she can make English phonetics a playful activity, a game to pronounce and speak words clearly, and hence use them in correct word formation and not become a mockery in the society. To tackle the problem of lack of vocabulary, students should be encouraged to form new words with proper guidance to phonetic sounds. The students should be made to learn simple words. This will help in inculcating a habit of learning new words in them. These new words should be used in day-to-day communications, and they should be made aware of pronunciation of these words. Also, stress should be given to teach them the various speech organs involved in production of speech sounds, and they should be encouraged to speak loudly so that their use of speech organs can be corrected. There can be no learning without exposure. Groups of students can be formed and all should be engaged to listen to each other's pronunciation and errors be pointed to them by each other. Text should be read loudly by the students. Simple usage of words will become a part of speech only when they are exposed to delivering a speech and expressing their ideas. The problems of the students and the teachers are interrelated. It is necessary to assure that the learner makes a tremendous contribution to the process. In the end, I would say that as we progress, English as a language has become a part and parcel of our everyday life, and it can only be learned appropriately through the proper knowledge of its sound system. Though the schools try their best to impart the knowledge of English phonetics, but still colleges should polish their effort by helping the students acquire more strength in English phonetics. Thank you.
Thank you, Manpreet Kaur. Your paper, Teaching of English Phonetics in Rural Colleges, is phenomenal, and you have given the ideas, and you have talked about the importance of listening. In schools and colleges, we give only importance to listening, speaking, reading, writing, but we have not giving importance to pronunciation. You have highlighted the point.
Yes, sir.
So I want to ask you one question.
Yes, sir.
If you want to teach phonetics at the school level,
Yes, sir.
which class is apt to study phonetics? Which class?
Sir, I think basically when a child starts learning, I think in the primary classes, the nursery class, it's a playground class. But then if we start teaching the sounds to them, they adapt to their mother tongue when they're born, but when they enter the school, be they should be taught phonetics of the other language they are to be taught. Like they are to study in English, so it's an acquired language. The acquired skills should be given to them. The phonetics, the sounds that are different from the mother tongue, they should be taught from nursery itself.
Okay, Manpreet Kaur. Any question from the audience? Audience, any question you want to ask, you can ask. Any questions, please, from the audience side? English phonetics and teaching of English. So if you want to ask any question, share. You want to ask question, you can ask.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So next person, his paper is Munmun Digoria. Here, Munmun Digoria
Yes,
is
sir.
here. Munmun. Yeah. Wait a minute. The doctorate research fellow in English discipline, Usha Martin, University, Ranchi.
Yes,
Title
sir.
of the paper is Ancient Indian Mythological Folktales, a blend of faith and tradition. You can start presenting your paper, Munmun.
Yes, sir. Sir, I want to share the slide, please.
Yes, you can share it. Yes, very good.
Screen visible?
Yeah, is it visible? Yes, visible, please.
Am I audible, sir?
Audible, yes.
Okay. Good evening to one and all present here. At first, I would like to thank the Honorable Chairperson, the entire panel, along with the Department of English for giving me an opportunity to present my paper. As announced by Sir, I will be presenting the paper on ancient Indian mythological folktales. I would like to start my presentation with a quote by Swami Vivekananda. The Indian mythology has a theory of cycles that all progression is in the form of waves. The Indian mythology constitutes the backbone of Indian culture. Hindu myths have been adapted over the centuries to incorporate new and revised characters, and they continue to play a central role in modern Indian life. Retooled with the narrative themes of creation, preservation, destruction, and presentation of grace, I would like to focus on the symbolism of the mythological tales. Now, these mythological tales are more than just folklores. The understanding of local mythology can give us an innate understanding of human nature and an idea of the root of their culture. The objective of this manuscript is to present the importance and symbolism behind the Indian mythology that can change the way of viewing our life. The motive is to explain in a very simple language the stories, symbols, and rituals that form the basis of Hindu culture and how the breach into the philosophical and psychological aspects of the human mind and human nature. I would like to discuss here that how mythology is associated with one's culture. The concept of liberation, salvation, divinity, patriotism are essentially established through stories. Every culture creates their myths and transmit it through stories, symbols, and rituals. Myths have nothing to do with history. History is time-bound, whereas myth is timeless. History tells us how people lived in the past, whereas myths and folk tales they tell us how heroes and the gods live all the time. The first communication using gesture became ritual. Then the symbols came that took the form of art, and the word came, which eventually were put down in text. Every mythology brings different kinds of values to the community with diverse effectiveness. Coming up to the introduction, the present study aims at discussing the symbolism and association of Indian mythology with one's culture. It decodes the custom, culture, rituals, and social activities through the folk tales used in the text. The revisiting of tales with socio-cultural perspective shall add new dimensions to this area of research with relevance of mythology in the modern world. Now, how the mythology is relevant in the modern world, I would share some thoughts about it. With the rise of digital media, myths and folk tales have become a very less popular and have been suppressed in many societies. One might ask itself, what's the importance of these old stories nowadays, when science has the answer of most of the important questions about life? We certainly doesn't need myths anymore. So why should we preserve myths and stories from dying out? What can these stories still teach us? Why is it important to know how to behave in a correct society? From the folklores, the most common and logical explanation to this is that they belong to our history. They are the part of our culture. Thus, it should be preserved to understand our past properly. But myth and stories also play a part in our present-day life. They connect us deeply on a personal level to our ancestors. Through the stories, we get a glimpse of how our ancestors thought, behaved, and acted in everyday's life. Tales makes us understand them better. Humanity might have come a long way, but when we correlate ourselves, we still are the same as we are back there with all the human emotions and everyday problems. Not only that, these tales reconnect us to our true selves. They connect us to our heart and innermost essence. By listening, sharing, and remembering these old stories, a deep, primal, and ancient part of us is activated within us. Where fact talks to our mind, stories talks to our heart. We realize that we all share a common ground. These stories keep us alive and create a sense of mysticism in a rational world. They open our hearts to curiosity and deeper feelings, making us rethink on our behavior and belief patterns. Now, coming to the next slide, I'll draw the attention toward the literature review. Now, for this study, there was an intensive coverage of literature, but the few important has been presented here. The first is the religion is very even present to a Hindu mind. It colors all its ideas. It runs through every fiber of his being, as Sir Monier Williams says in his Religious Life and Thoughts in India. Well said by William John Thoms when he coined the term formal academic study of folklore as Folkkunde from a German word, and it means the study of the people with a common culture, language, and ancestry. As Clarissa Piccola states, the author of the book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, she puts it as, the stories that rise from deep suffering can provide the most potent remedies for past, present, and even future ills. According to Clara Malzel, with the lost art of storytelling, we are all denying an essential part of our basic human needs, the longing for community. Through storytelling, we create a sense of belonging, a sense of personal and communal identification, which is important for healthy social structures. Lawrence Gorman affirms in his study, Folklore as an Historical Science in 1908, that surviving fragments of folk beliefs and customs are useful to reconstruct the prehistorical periods of human civilization. Coming to the next slide, I would discuss about the methodology that I have used for presenting the paper, for preparing the paper. On the basis of theoretical content analysis, the paper covers the traditional stories that aims at proving the relevance of mythology as a blend of faith and tradition with reference to folklore of Shitala worship. The textual analysis of source is in vernacular language of Hindi as well as Bengali has been taken care of. To aid the study, the paper includes images and web links. To highlight certain issues, a historical research has been done on the printed edition preserved by the Archaeological Survey of India and the Anthropological Survey of India. It is an attempt to collect the information about these various social, cultural, and religious activities. I would like to acknowledge the efforts of Rai Bahadur A.C. Mukherjee, who published The Ancient Indian Fast and Feast in the year 1932. It is really a very renowned book, and it helps researchers like us to delve deep into the matter. Coming to the main topic, that is Shitala, the deity of smallpox. What is the importance of Shitala worship? It is a common belief amongst the rural folk of India that every phase of human life is directly controlled by some divine power. Shitala, the cool one, is best known as the goddess of smallpox and the other diseases involved skin eruptions such as measles and chickenpox. Every part of India has a goddess concerned with smallpox, and especially in eastern India, she is commonly known by the name of Shitala. She is best known as the giver of pox to those who have angered her, but also known as the protector of children and the giver of good fortune. The Shitala cult is perhaps more highly developed in Bengal, where pujas are organized in her honor with Mangal poems, artis, written to praise her, and numerous temples are constructed for her worship. Born from the cool ashes of the sacrificial fire, by nature, Shitala is cool. She rewards those who make her cool and burns with fever those who anger her. The Shitala worship has attached the social solidarity with the society. Now, when we look at her appearance, according to Wadley, Shitala is depicted as a married woman or an elderly Brahmin woman who is dressed in a blood-red garment with a pale yellow face. She is portrayed riding an ass, carrying a broom and a water vessel with a winnowing fan on her head. She is one of the many Hindu mother goddesses who are known for their benevolence and dreadfulness. Shitala is worshipped during the Fagun, which is the month of February to March, when smallpox epidemics are most common and prevalent. In eastern region, her worship is associated with stale and leftover food, commonly termed as basura. Cooking on the day we worship the Shitala is forbidden. Therefore, the people of this region prepare food on the day just before the puja and offer these to the Shitala. The popular folklore depicts the Shitala has 7 sisters and may also have a brother who is not much well known. Now, keeping in point, the white ass has been taken as a vehicle. Now, Mother Goddess Shitala rides on as an ass. It is believed that the selection of ass as a vehicle is unique and symbolic. It represents the distrust and devastation and the complete infertility. She rides on ass, which is unique symbol of negative animosity. The broom that Shitala carries in her hand, it is used to remove dirt and dust. It represents simplest transformation of nature into culture. It symbolizes unity, order, and cleanliness, and it is tied by one end. An important practice in this is the symbolic sweeping and dusting of the patient with a broom made up of neem twigs, which is supposed to clean the mind and spirit of the person. Coming to the water vessel that she is holding, the picture symbolizes human body, which contains life. The association of a water vessel with the cult of Shitala emphasizes the fertility and protecting aspect of the cult. On the other hand, the winnowing fan is an instrument which acquires a unique cultural significance. It mediates between purity and impurity. The disease itself is processes which symbolizes both manifestation and outbreak of impurities, and ultimately it ends in purification and leads to rejuvenation. Now, the folklore of Shitala's worship, as explained by W. Crook in The Popular Religion and Folklore of Northern India. If a smallpox comes of its own accord in the ordinary form, it is harmless. But a more dangerous variety is attributed to the anger of local deities. Three stories of goddess Shitala is popular among the people. The goddess of smallpox, the protector of children, the giver of good fortune. The Vrat Katha and the stories for Shitala are many and varied. The proper ritual actions and supporting stories are given in the Hindu law book. The common theme of that is heating and cooling. We also take Shitala as Shitala Sashti. Shitala Sashti is associated with Bengali goddess Shashti, whose domain is the bestowing and protecting of children. Shashti is worshipped on the 6th day after the birth of a child and the 6th day of many lunar fortnights. Coming up next, I would like to conclude my paper by telling the symbolism of my work. The symbolic illustration and beliefs proves that these tales are the representations of culture and history. The smallpox goddess Shitala is a portrayal that emerges as a loving mother who protects her children from the effect and the fever of poxes. The work explores the symbolism behind the appearance of the goddess with the devotional practices. The Indian narrative songs, folk tales itself explains Shitala as an extremely popular goddess with an essence of cultural heritage. Coming up to the limitations. In the first place, it is really impossible to write on a social and religious subject with absolute fairness. The study is very limited as integrated with the rural people regarding manuscript is a very long-term process and largely unconscious. The stories are expressed in the form of oral tradition which has been announced for centuries and being handed down orally from generation to generation. As they originate, travel, and finally end up at a different place, they transcend the barrier of time and space. The study will show path to such stories in future to further explore. Interaction with the rural people regarding the manuscript has been really been a difficult work. In the first place, it is really important to write on a social and religious subject with an absolute fairness. I would like to conclude by quoting a term that faith and tradition together makes a person. Faith and tradition together makes the world. Here are the list of references I would like to present in my paper. That concludes my paper. Thank you everyone for being such a patient listener. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Munmun. Any question from the audience? Any question from the audience side? Ancient Indian mythological folk tales, a blend of faith and tradition. She presented a paper. She talked about mythology. She talked about folklore, and she talked about the one folklore called the deity of smallpox. So, any question from the audience? Any question? Okay. I will ask one question to Munmun.
Yes, sir.
This is the age of science, it's the age of science. We have all the technological advances. We live in the best time of our life because of the technology advancement, everything. We have everything, every facilities, even this conference, that it runs with technology. Okay. So do we think that the modern generation, the 21st century, the 20 kids, will they accept this folklore? Will they accept? Will they read? Will they accept it in their lives? What is your opinion on that?
Yes, sir. I would add upon that inculcating the values of folklore in children through mythological tales are really important. When you think of myths and folklore tales, what first comes to our mind is probably some kind of a fairy tale. We might think about old grandmothers sitting down to share their knowledge with the younger generation. Now, when we come upon myths and folklore tales or legends, they are more of forgotten in our digital technology advancement culture. I agree to it. But there is a great wisdom found in the old tales of our ancestors, in the storytelling of deities and demons. To make the children understand the layers of meaning that myths hold, uh, we just need to tell their stories to the children without judging or without justifying the actions of the character. Let them interpret by their own. The parental bias is the worst thing one do. It completely destroys the power of the ancient mythology, trying to sanitize and censor the tales. To inculcate the values in the children, children should see their stories as reflection of their own mind, emotions, and ideas. Now, Indian mythology values what you are despite you have. Hello?
Okay, very good, ma'am. Good answer. Very good answer. Okay, your answer has given me a good explanation of the question which I posted. Okay, so now, okay. Thank you, Bundan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you.
now we will go to